my opening statement, I greet everybody and welcome and whatever. And I'm like, the objective of this meeting is like when we leave the room, everybody is on the same page. Like we will take as long as is required for you guys for us all to understand what the next 3 months are about. And if there's any questions, there's any issues, there's any objections, like right now is when we sort them out. Because when we leave this room, we have clarity and we have direction. So I do think, it is about like unity of vision and unity of purpose. And I'm speaking a lot like it's my vision. It's very important that it is not just my vision. Like we are going to Henley because students chose to go to Henley. I offered it. I put it out as a possibility if we meet these standards. The guys decided, like they made that choice. The national championships, they made the choice because I feel like I have information and knowledge and experience that can help them, but they're making the choice.
Questions?
No, all good.
All right, let's dive in. For everyone listening, we have Kevin MacDermott, head coach, Trinity College men's rowing. Very excited to have Kevin on. Coming off of a few weeks off of a back-to-back national championship, IRA Division 3 national championship. A few days out from their trip to Henley here in a few days, to take Trinity across the pond and represent, at obviously a very, very big regatta over there. But Kevin, I'm very excited to have you on. Obviously, I've had, Nate on a couple times, to dive into just Division 3 and rowing as a whole. And then obviously coming off of the first national championship last year, but obviously you've been at Trinity for well over a decade. You have seen this program rise to what it is today. Very excited to dive into a whole bunch of topics. We'll see what we get into, and I'm very pumped for that. But just kick things off. Like it sounded like you had practice this morning. It sounds like you leave for Henley on Friday. And first time going over there, as we talked right before recording, since 2013. Very excited to hear about that. But just kick things off. Just where are we in the season coming off of your second national championship? What's on the immediate horizon? Because it seems like your season's, nowhere close to being over. Like most people are at home where their season's wrapped up. You guys you have a whole another few weeks ahead of you. Where are we in the season? And let's dovetail that into just a little bit about how you got into coaching.
Yeah. We're in a really exciting part of the season. Yeah, we leave for England in 3 days and the clock is ticking and looking to kind of check off the final items before we head over. But I think we've had a long season and now we have a subset of our team that 14 rowers, 2 coxswains who are going to represent the college over in England. Really importantly, though, we had a regular and championship season with 4/8 of really impressive and hardworking and dedicated and driven athletes through the New England Rowing Championships and the NIRC Rowing Championships, where all 4 of our 8s medaled at both of those regattas. So super proud of the full team effort during that phase of our season. Following the NIRC, we were very grateful and honored to get the bid, one of the 8 bids to represent Trinity at the D3 IRA National Championship. So we took out 22 guys, 2 8s, 4, and a spare pair to that regatta. That group performed brilliantly. The varsity won, the second varsity was second. So honored to have the varsity title and the second varsity title, which second place rather, which earned us the team title. Our 4 raced like killers. These were third varsity athletes racing in that open 4 event. They were awesome. Our spare pair could not have been any better in their support of what we were doing out there. So then from that 22, we have 14. So kind of getting smaller in size, but the pressure, the stakes keep ratcheting up as we now go on to Henley. So we're having a great time, working very hard. and really focused on representing Trinity at the highest possible level. But that's where we're at. And that's kind of, I don't know, a little overview of the last couple of months. Yeah, super proud of the whole team. And now this group of guys who are going to represent Trinity, really excited for them.
What just building off of the Henley thing, because I think I've never gotten the opportunity to go. It wasn't something that we did when I was coaching, and hopefully it's a bucket list item for sure that I'll get to someday. But you guys haven't been since 2013, and just since it's current, it's coming up, here in a few weeks. Like, what to you is in the back of your mind the decision to take the team to Henley? Like, where does that kind of like materialize? Like, what is the value that you think the team kind of inherently gains from going and testing, their abilities against, some of the best crews on earth, literally, right? Big national regatta or big global regatta.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean for the program? What does that mean for maybe like the alumni base? All these different things that come with an extension of your season, a few weeks to be able to go and race at a regatta like that. Like, take that wherever you want, but I'm fascinated to hear where this experience kind of comes into the grand picture of Trinity rowing in the community.
Yeah. I will try to keep my answer to less than like 45 minutes. It starts with Henley just being magical. Like, it's magic, and it's an incredible place. It's an incredible regatta. It's a extraordinary scene. So like the actual place is like Mecca. Like, for rowers, it is traveling to Mecca, and like this epicenter of like something that makes rowing absolutely magical. So maybe, I don't know, that's like the overarching kind of, that's why we want to go. That's why I hope I can give this opportunity to guys, and just that they can experience it. Very quick kind of sidetrack. When I was starting rowing, Henley was mysterious. There was no video, or very limited video. It was like something unknowable in a way. You had to go there to experience it. It wasn't broadly publicized, wasn't broadcast, but you knew about it, and you knew how special it was. I don't know when YouTube and the coverage but the last 7-8 years, maybe, like, Henley has been opened up to the world. And now everybody can see every square inch of it. And the coverage, the commentary, the B-roll that they shoot of it, like, on those YouTube streams, people know, like, and it's accessible to everybody how extraordinary it is. And I think that has pushed a lot of interest in certainly our guys wanting to go, and the rowing world broadly wanting to go. This is my third trip. 08, I was an assistant coach. 13, I was the head coach, and very honored to bring the guys again. It's one of the most special things to coach. It's amazing to participate in. But as I look at this period for training, for the team being together on campus, no academic stress, weather is beautiful, river is gorgeous, we get to row twice a day, like, they get to go play mini golf and get ice cream and go hiking, and like, it's just the best experience preparing for it, and then actually racing it, being there training and racing it. It's all just incredible. And I'm really, really honored to help lead these guys, and for them to have the opportunity to do it. For our alumni, Trinity's legacy at Henley is unmatched in small college rowing. So this year, 2026, we mark the 50th anniversary of the Trinity varsity winning the ladies' plate. At that time, the ladies' plate was approximately kind of the equivalent of what the Temple Cup is now. The Temple Challenge Cup was put in 1993, I believe, 93 or 94. So in the 70s, ladies played. Colleges like Trinity would go and compete, and that crew won in 1976. So we're honored to kind of celebrate that anniversary. And then '05, the crew from Trinity that won the Temple was extraordinary achievement. So to have two event wins for this college is really special. 1969 was the first Henley trip. In 2019, we put together a celebration of the 50th anniversary of that trip. 7 of those guys came back, and they were the best. They were like, their spirit, their energy, the amount of trash they talked to each other still in their early 70s was amazing. They got out on the boat and rowed. Awesome. So 1969, it started for Trinity. Norman Graff was the coach at the time. He had coached at Rutgers. He had coached at Yale, knew about Henley, and wanted that to be a catalyst for growth at Trinity. He wanted it to be this aspirational event that would spur like really inspired rowing from guys. So 1969, they go, 71, 73, 76, 78, 81, 95, 99, 2000, 05, 08, 13, and yeah, now we get to go in 2026. So our alumni are extraordinarily supportive. We couldn't have done the trip without them, frankly. And they are really excited because we're honoring a really spectacular legacy of success and participation over there. So,
I mean, like your breakdown of just like, and we were chatting about this for a minute or so before we started to record, but like the rich history of Trinity rowing that expands back as you like. I mean, that's really cool that kind of a 50-year kind of return, or just kind of go there and be able to have like a little bit of a attached like meaning to it, is pretty unique here being 2026. But like the unique history that is Trinity and rowing, and the alums that come from it, the coaching tree as we were talking about a little bit before. But even before we get to some of that, which again, I want to dive into some of that, just talk a little bit about your experience kind of coming to Trinity. You kind of highlighted before, like you started out as an assistant. You've been, the head coach, I believe, since 2009, I believe, right? So You've been there for a very long time as the head coach. You've been at Trinity as a whole for a long time. And then prior to that, having experience at another NESCAC program, right, Wesleyan, where I believe you were, that's your alma mater as well. Like, how did you land at Trinity? Like, just to give a little bit of that backstory that, for how you got into coaching and, now going on over 2 decades within the NESCAC and rowing at the D3 level and all the successes that have kind of materialized over these last few years, especially. We'll talk about them as we go, but just talk about the backstory a little bit.
Yeah. So I am starting my 20th year at Trinity, which is wild to say. I love it more than ever. It's been an incredible place to be, not only as a coach, but like a community member. There's 2,000 students at the college. It's a small liberal arts college, and now starting my 20th year, I love my connection to this place, not only the rowing program, but to the college. So yeah, 20 years here. I'm here because of Larry Gluckman. He was, we had met at Craftsbury. So I've coached since 2003 at Craftsbury, and we had a great connection and great relationship through Craftsbury, and also I did coach at Wesleyan before Trinity. So I'm here because Larry hired me, and I thank my lucky stars every day. Larry died a few years ago, and I miss him, as do countless others who he impacted. But yeah, he gave me an opportunity for a full-time job here, and I am so grateful and really lucky to have had that opportunity, and now to have been able to continue since '09 as the head coach has been really special. Before Trinity, I worked at Wesleyan for 4 years. I coached the team, but also did work with the admissions office and what they called university relations, which is their fundraising operation. Worked for a coach, Phil Carney, who has been at Wesleyan since 1986, I believe was Phil's first year there. So I think he's in his 40th year at Wesleyan. Kind of a beautiful circularity. Phil is a Trinity alum coaching at Wesleyan, and I'm just the opposite, Wes alum coaching at Trinity. But worked there, and then was a student at Wesleyan. So rode for Phil for 4 years. It is now with Wesleyan and the other NESCAC schools, like the rivalries are super intense. The races are razor thin. And it is challenging because Phil's known me since I was 17 years old. And so I really am grateful to him for recruiting me from high school when I was a kid, and has just been an incredibly important mentor and teacher and friend for all of those intervening years. So, and then more broadly, like my connection to rowing is really the Connecticut River. So I did my junior and senior year at a prep school called Northfield Mount Herman, which is on the Connecticut River. Rode there my junior and senior year. That would have been 95, 96. And I have not left the Connecticut since. So Wesleyan on the Connecticut in Middletown, and then Trinity on the Connecticut River in Hartford. So going on 30 plus years just on this river. As we talked about earlier, first strokes ever were in Philadelphia. A summer learn to row program Haverford School and Undine put on, and got out in an old wooden quad a few times that summer between my 7th and 8th grade year. So that's a little bit of the backstory with Trinity and my rowing journey more broadly.
And I mean, that's really like funny with and one of the first things I wanted to bring up as well was just obviously your connection to Wesleyan, and Coach Carney's connection to Trinity, and kind of the vice versa switch there is kind of his, kind of crazy, but also, and you kind of talked about it a little bit before, but just, like the competitiveness of all those teams up there. Like I wanted to kind of even mention, like you guys edged Wesleyan in the national championship in the varsity 8 by less than half a second, I think, right? Like just literally just
0.15. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So like the razor thin competitive.
Sorry, that was the third of like 3 extraordinary races. So the Trinity and Wesleyan crews, both top notch, and really those were phenomenal races. So sorry to interrupt.
And even a few weeks before that, right? Yeah. So a few weeks before that, they edged you guys at the NERC and like all that. Like, and so anyway, just it brings kind of, as we kind of shift a little bit of our shift a little bit to just Division III rowing, your guys kind of trajectory to where you've gotten to this point, winning your 2nd national championship, as we talked about, by razor thin margins in what is probably one of the most competitive events in all of college rowing. Just for you, like in the last, since I guess, right, since 20 years at Trinity, 3 as an assistant, and then the rest as head coach. What's been that evolution of the team and of the program, and even just within the walls of your boathouse? And then maybe we'll expand that beyond to Division III as a whole, which, I've had a number of guests on before where we talk about just the growth of Division III and the competitiveness of that landscape. But just for you over these last 10, 15 years, what has that kind of like, what have been some of those kind of pillars that you've leaned on to kind of create this culture that has now, on the national stage been at the top, over the last 2 years?
Yeah. The second part of your question of like our team currently would love to come back to, but just the history of D3 and small college rowing, I think I would expand it out quite a bit to help contextualize what's going on right now. D3 and small college rowing has been excellent for a long time, but the formats and the venues have changed. So, 50 years ago, a Trinity boat won the ladies' plate at Henley. Like a huge achievement, a remarkable achievement. The Coast Guard Academy. Bill Stowe used to coach the Coast Guard Academy, and they were a dominant Dad Vale level program. There was a year where the Coast Guard Academy crew flew to Wisconsin and raced Wisconsin to within a half length, and Wisconsin went on to win the IRA. Like, D3 crews have been excellent for a long time, Trinity and others. I think there are a couple of inflection points that have really changed things. Larry was one of them. He came to Trinity in 2003. He had been working at Concept 2 for like 12 years or so, 11 years, because he left Dartmouth in 92. But he'd coached at Dartmouth. He coached at Princeton. He had been national team coach, coached Columbia, coached Northeastern, had been a national team athlete, won Henley in the Prince Philip, which is an event, the Coxed Four, that no longer exists, but, trained at Vesper with Al Rosenberg. Like, Larry had like an extraordinary resume. For a variety of reasons, he wanted to come back to coaching, wanted to coach at Trinity in 2003. And his vision and kind of dream of like what was possible at the Division III level helped change not just rowing at Trinity, but for everybody. So he gets here in 2003. The Temple crew wins in 2005. He's bringing the crew to Redwood Shores, and they're racing Washington. A Trinity crew raced Washington to within a length. Like there were phenomenal boats. At that time, Peter Wells was coaching Williams. He had great crews. One of the years, Peter took a sabbatical, and a guy named Ben Lewis came from England, and this was 2009, and had a great wealth of experience in England. And you talk about Henley. I don't even know if Ben can count the number of Henley wins he has at the club level over in England, but helped transform Thames and Molesey club rowing. Anyway, he comes to Williams, and Williams has this like meteoric rise with him and these athletes that Peter had coached. Later on in the mid 2000s, NESCAC allows crews who win an automatic qualifier to go to the IRA. So that inspires Bates College and Peter Steenstra, their coach at the time and still their coach. They win the NIRC and are the first NESCAC school that's permitted to accept the automatic qualifier. Trinity, during my time and during Larry's time, had won it 5 times and wasn't permitted to accept the AQ. NESCAC wouldn't allow it. They changed that rule, and that, again, inspired Peter and these phenomenal Bates crews. I hope I don't get it wrong. I think 2018, 17, 18 were the years. So just amazing crews there. We then have the pandemic. And during the COVID year, Gary Caldwell was working, his organizational skills to get a Division III event added to the IRA. A few coaches, we were involved in that and the proposal and sponsoring it and lobbying the stewards to accept it. But Gary was really the catalyst behind it. So that event gets added in 2022, and that's another inflection point. This like wild moment that really allows like the venue and the format to highlight how good Division III rowing is. Trinity included, but many, many others. So I don't know. I've heard a lot of like, man, D3 rowing is really flying. Yes, it's just more visible now. I think there have been, again, and those are not all of them either. Like I've left out many, many examples of really top quality, high performance Division III small college crews. Hobart's Ascent They're a Division I program, but a small college. So when Paul took over down there, and a former rower of mine, Tom Keller, went there and helped him get started, and all of a sudden Hobart is competing, with like top 15 programs in the nation during that 15, 16, 17 range. The most recent development, this D3 event, has been incredible. Part of the IRA program, its own day. They run the D1 semifinals and then they highlight the D3 finals. Like, that scheduling is amazing. All of the coverage that gets, all of the, it's very flattering, and we're so proud to have won the last two. But that visibility has really impacted it, I think, in helping just as another inflection point, pushing us to another level of performance. But I don't know, I always like to contextualize it and be like, there's been really fast D3 rowing for a long time. And I think people are really starting to realize that Trinity can go 540. And look, it doesn't matter how many students are in our college or who they are. That's now the performance standard to be competitive for a D3 national championship. And pretty soon 540 is not going to get it done. You're going to have to go 537 or faster. So again, a little long-winded, but I hope interesting just for where we are now from a historical perspective.
What building off of that, because I love that. And I think, like, as you kind of said, like, I mean, when you're highlighting crews from 2005 who were literally competing against the best of the best, and I think just Division III as a whole, like, especially in rowing, like, since my beginnings as a college walk-on back in the early 2010s, like, I've always known of these programs, and we competed against them when I was at St. Joe's, competing against, the Bateses and the Williams and the, going up to Massachusetts and racing, all that, right? Like, all that kind of stuff, always crossing paths. And, an example is you guys were literally at the Connect Cup a few months ago and, like, won the whole thing going against Division I programs. And, like, again, like, it's just so cool to see how competitive it is as an avenue for athletes. And one of the things, bridging off of what you were just talking about, like, what do you lend that competitiveness to, in the sense of, like, what attracts, these athletes, these people who, can go and win Henley, or go off to the Olympics, or go and win, a national championship, and create crews that go, in the 540s for varsity 8, 540. Like, what is kind of like the thing that really pulls athletes to these programs? Obviously it's coaching and recruiting and the platform that you guys provide, and with the university and all these different things. But, like, I don't know, it's just out of curiosity, because, again, it's like, it's so competitive, and we're talking about athletes who probably could row at, 90, 95, all of the Division I programs out there, but they choose to go to path of, Division III and these, very, very prestigious universities that, just speaking more from the NESCAC standpoint, like that, and they have a great experience doing it. Anyway, what do you think is the draw to that over the last 10 years, but even beyond that?
Yeah. Currently, I think people at whatever level they row at, they are weighing their desires and their ambitions for the experience as a student and as an athlete. And for Trinity specifically, as a student, you are signing up for a small college, liberal arts, community, residential-based experience. One of the phrases that I use often is, like, Trinity is small enough that you're going to know a lot of people, but you're never going to know everybody. Each year, there's 600 new people coming into the college. You're not going to know everybody, but you're going to know a lot of people. And you're going to have very tight, connected experiences with your classmates, with your professors, and with your coaches. No TAs teach classes here. There are no postgrads teaching classes. It's only professors. And they're only teaching classes with 10 students, 20 students. You could have a senior symposium with 5 students in it academically. So as a student, that's what you're looking for. And then as an athlete, what you're looking for is the Division III, and for us specifically, the NESCAC structure. Written on our whiteboard in huge letters are 2 numbers, 114, 251. The maximum number of days that we can be with student athletes is 114 days. That's the maximum we're allowed. NESCAC and Division III, we put this through in legislation, so everybody's doing 114. That leaves 251 days where I'm not with you. Nate is not with you. That is a very different athlete experience than other places, other divisions. And if we do it right, if we get those 251 days correct, man, we can have a great experience. It breeds self-sufficiency. It breeds self-motivation. It breeds independence. It breeds accountability. It breeds all these like great things, but we have to acknowledge that the student experience is different. The athlete experience is different, and not even different. It's unique. It's ours. It's what we do. And so 114, 251, that's a really important thing. And I challenge guys, and I'm certainly not the only one. Like, what else are you going to do? Like, you're here to be a student, number one. We expect you to take rowing very seriously, but what else are you going to do? Are you going to do extra research? Are you going to have an extra internship? Are you sing a cappella? Like, what else are you going to do? Because with that 251, you have a lot of freedom. You have a lot of interpretation of like how you structure your day, how you approach your year. Again, academics, we are very proud of like excellent students. Rowing, the expectations are very high. So those 2 experiences, that's what you're picking, as well as something else. Like, what else do you want to pursue with a passion? And I'm pretty hard ass about this. Like, I have a lot of interests, and I love that Wesleyan allowed me to pursue them. I love that Trinity allows me to pursue my curiosities and like things that I'm passionate about, while I can still be a good dad. I can be a good coach. I can be a good mentor to these guys and expand myself. So that's what they're attracted to. I think that's what students on our team, they're picking that. There are other amazing experiences at different places, but that's what they're really picking here.
I love that. That's very cool. And the 114, 251, and again, like that D3 model that is baked into, the structure of being a participant, within the NESCAC, like I think, kind of allows for that. And one of the things that I want to bridge off of that a little bit, and then we'll get into like the current team, but just while we're on it, because I think this is really valuable for young athletes who may want to, investigate these paths and these top end types or these schools, at the top of D3 and the NESCAC. Like, what do you feel like? Okay, so we have 114 days of coach led, practices and things like that you guys can, want to make the most of to be successful. I'm curious off of that, like in that time, like how do we produce boats that go, 540 in the varsity 8? And the reason I kind of say that is it obviously you're in those 251 days, probably people are, they're not just going to pursue their outside, passions and, never, touching an erg or an oar or whatever it may be. But there's probably, in the recruit that you bring in and the people that you bring in, there's probably a sense of personal agency to stay in shape, be active, while also having to balance all these other things, right? Like if you just trained for 114 days and then, went and pursued something else for the next 2/3 of the year, you're probably not going to go 540 in late May, early June for 2,000 meters. Like,
right.
Is it the type of athlete? Is it the type of culture that you guys have established that kind of galvanizes and brings people together to be like, hey, like, we also have some goals on the rowing front. Just what does that look like, right? If you only have so much time for coach-led practices and the rest of it is on their own, is it like the chicken or the egg, right? Is it the athlete, is it the culture, right? Whatever it may be. Anyway, take that wherever you want.
Yeah. We go 540 by talking about the standard. We rarely, if ever, refer to other schools. I don't find that productive. I think it's something that we've tried to like get rid of. Like, we're not racing this school A, school B, school C. We're not racing them. We are racing the standard. And we want to ensure that everybody understands the standard and agrees to it. We're not bargaining, and this gets to your point of like, we're not bargaining about 540. And you look, you can go 540 and not finish first. But if we want to be competitive on the varsity level, that is the standard. If we want to be competitive on the second varsity level, this is the standard. Third varsity, fourth varsity. So we start there. And again, part of that is like, we're not bargaining this. We're not debating this. If you're an athlete and your standard is not 540, then you can't have a realistic expectation of success. So that's a big part of it, of like, this is the speed. The next part is, this is our plan, because everybody, every program has their own plan of like how we're going to do it. So from, of our yearly training calendar and our time together and our time separate, this is how we are going to agree we are going to reach that standard. And we drive hard towards it. Like, there's no other way. And it's with passion and like a lot of joy. I don't know. I think my enthusiasm for this comes across. I'm pretty transparent about like my energy and passion for this. And look, we're not gonna compromise. We're not. People need support and people need help, and like, we want to teach and we want to develop, and that's all a part of it. But we're not gonna debate on the standards. And we're also not going to debate our values. We do not debate values in our boathouse. We can discuss and talk about things, but there are just standard values that we will not compromise on. Not me, us. Like, it is us, and it's captains, it's Nate, it's every assistant coach, it's every guy on the team. We have the standards. We have a plan for how we agree we're going to reach them, and our values drive us towards that.
Yeah, I think like, and one of the things that's interesting is like, I know, just with how the structure is for D3, like the winter time is like a great example of a time where, I think you guys are, from a coaching perspective or from a coaching standpoint, you're hands off, but you probably have a culture that's driving for those standards of athletes who are being like, hey, like, we have this kind of team atmosphere where, if we just sit and do nothing for the winter, then, we're probably going to have not the results that meet the standard that we seek in the spring. But if we have a culture that's backed, by leaders and on the water leaders, right? Meaning like the athletes, okay, well, here's what we're going to hold ourselves to, even in the winter, right? When most teams are, not most teams, but Division I teams are kind of like indoors as a team, and that's kind of the requirement. You guys are a little bit more, it's in the ownership of the athletes, I believe, if I'm getting that part right. And I think one of the things that's unique about that is to me personally, I think in some ways, if you utilize that time correctly, it could be an advantage on the rowing side, because you're able to, kind of use your time wisely in a way that fulfills you both on and off the water. And it makes the winter a little bit of a more, digestible piece than maybe it is if you're like, we have to show up every day and do this. Anyway, I'm rambling there, but hopefully that makes sense.
I think if we get that right and the athletes get it right, we have seasons like we just had. 4 boats, every single championship, medaling. team, like those are the things we are most proud of. The varsity, great, very proud of them. But like we had accountability through the entire year from every guy for reaching our team goals and our team objectives. And that doesn't always get you success every single year. But it's fall, winter, spring, summer. It is the entire year agreed upon approach to reaching our objective. And rest is important, and cross training and multimodal training is important, and breaks from rowing are important. But for us, it's a 48-week like comprehensive approach to the IRA, or this year to Henley. We're really focused on executing that plan. And I mentioned earlier, like sometimes guys need support in helping them execute that plan. And we've had guys who have struggled and they've left the team. We've had guys who've struggled and with support have grown and developed and learned and are thriving, are doing really, really great. But again, we don't meet a lot, but we have these periodic meetings where with the entire team, my opening statement, I greet everybody and welcome and whatever. And I'm like, the objective of this meeting is like when we leave the room, everybody is on the same page. Like we will take as long as is required for you guys for us all to understand what the next 3 months are about. And if there's any questions, there's any issues, there's any objections, like right now is when we sort them out. Because when we leave this room, we have clarity and we have direction. If you don't have those things, dude, you're cooking without an instruction manual. Like you're cooking without the recipe book. And I've done that in previous years, and I'm just like, we can't be successful with that. So I do think, it is about like unity of vision and unity of purpose. And I'm speaking a lot like it's my vision. It's very important that it is not just my vision. Like we are going to Henley because students chose to go to Henley. I offered it. I put it out as a possibility if we meet these standards. The guys decided, like they made that choice. The national championships, they made the choice because I feel like I have information and knowledge and experience that can help them, but they're making the choice. And so I want to be very clear on that. Like my role is of service to them reaching their goals. They have to want to go 540, not me. Like, of course I want to go 540. Of course I want to do that. They have to choose that. And my job as a coach, as I see it, it is a job of service. Of like, how do I help support their goals and their pursuits, not my own? That's, I think you're on a fool's errand if you're doing that. When it is in concert with their goals and their ambitions, then it's fantastic. And it's a wonderful, wonderful experience.
I could talk about this all day because I think that's just, there's so much cool like stuff where it's like creating this, and I love that you said like, hey, like, we want everyone on the same page and we're walking out of here with clarity and understanding of what that standard is and the vision that, like, I think setting those clear expectations allows you to make the most of the time that you do have with the team, but also just through osmosis of like what the standard is, like, create this own sense of personal drive when you're not in the team environment or with your coaches kind of like, speaking from the launch and stuff like that. I think that just speaks to a culture that you can establish as a team. And bridging off of that, talking about the culture and the team and all that, like these last few years, obviously, some really good success just in, again, the IRA and its new kind of, as you said, like this new phase of it with the national championship kind of being at the forefront, having its own day and its own event, even more so since, 2022 or so. Like you guys have had some pretty good years these last 2 years. And I've talked to countless athletes who, and obviously I've had Nate on a couple of times, and just hearing about the recruiting and the athletes that you're bringing in, but also what you guys build kind of inside the walls of the boathouse and the culture there. I know a bunch of athletes who have rowed at Trinity who, again, like are could probably row at any, at a lot of Division I programs out there, but they were attracted to what you guys are building up there and are having success. Like, what are some of those pillars that you guys have kind of established in your culture, and the standards that you set? Like, what are some of those things that kind of like bring about the team as a whole, like those standards, those values that you guys lean on that have maybe led to some of the success here?
Yeah, I think there are three primary ones. I spoke about one earlier that we categorize as priority. Academics have to be first. You are investing a huge amount to go to any college or university, and the professional pursuit, which is concurrent with athletic growth, you have to be primarily, and with your priority, fundamentally focused on that first. Academics are first. Rowing has to be second. And if something else is second, it's not going to work. Like if a fraternity or something else is more important to you than the team, we're not going to get along, because you will not have the correct approach for high performance rowing. So academics one, rowing must be number two. And as I said earlier, I want you to have something else that can fit in. And I don't know whether, that's like, I guess it's a value, but it is key to defining our culture. Because if academics are number one and something else is more important to you than rowing after academics, man, it's really hard to do the work required together to reach our goals. The second is, there's no succinct way to say it, but culture rests with every single person on our team and in our orbit. I think oftentimes people will look to others to create culture, and I just don't accept that on our team. I'm not the one who creates culture. The captain is not the one alone who creates culture. Every single person is responsible and impacts our culture. So, and this is one of the first messages we give to first years of like, you may be a first year and think, whatever the first year experience is, you're, going to work hard and just look up. It's like, you are also setting culture. You are important to our team, what you do, how you behave, how you speak, how you interact with others. Like, it's not just me. It's not just the head coach. It is every single person. And I think we demand that guys, I don't know, absorb that or I don't know, not demand that they accept it, but like, we want them to embrace it. Of like, no, I may be a fourth boater or a second boater, or I might not even be boated, but like, I create culture. Say you're a land warrior, you're not on the water that day. Like, what does it say if you do the workout at 100% on the erg and crush the workout on the water? Like, we want to embrace that and reward that versus, I'm not on the water today. Like, all right, I'll just sit on the couch and whatever. It's like, no, you're just as important as the stroke of the varsity. And that's not just like I don't know, like we are sincere about that, because if there are even the smallest compromises to culture from anybody, from me, from freshman, sophomore, senior, anybody, like, we address it. It is that important to us. And again, it's shared responsibility. It's not somebody else's job. It's not the captain's job to set the culture. The captain does their part, but every single person does that. So again, I should come up with a more succinct way of saying that. That's number two. And then just accountability. Like, I want to be the most accountable person in the boathouse, for the work that I do, the mistakes that I make, like everything, my work ethic, the quality of what I do. Like, I want to be accountable. Nate wants to be accountable. The captains want to be accountable, and every single person on our team. Like, accountability. It's a really easy buzzword to throw around, but we have, if there are breaches or compromises to like our accountability, both positive and negative, yeah, we seek to address it very, very quickly. And I haven't mentioned the coxswains. Like, coxswains set culture. Coxswains have to be accountable. And I think it is valuing and empowering every single person on the team to be a part of our team that, we've tried to emphasize the last few years. It's not somebody else's job. It's your job. And that's really powerful. And I hope guys really see the value and see the success from that.
And what I think again, like it kind of comes back to, like, you kind of have to have the right mix of athletes, the right blend of athletes, like that can kind of establish a culture and have that accountability, from the lower end, all the way up to, again, like you said, stroke seat of the varsity 8 or people in the varsity 8. And I remember, chatting with Nate, either, one of his first or second times coming on, but like, you guys have a roster that, puts out obviously a consistent 4 boats on the water, 5 boats, maybe even, I forget what he said, but like, just, you guys have a large roster, that, and you're bringing in classes of, double digit recruits every single year. And again, like from my experience, guys who are very competitive at the top end, but even just probably, you have a lot of athletes who are probably developing, from a development standpoint, and will kind of work their way through the ranks and maybe become varsity 8 guy one day. Like, what do you guys look for, from a, when you're trying to build a class and bring in that next group of athletes that will then carry the torch of the culture, actually from day one, as you said, right? Even freshmen have, there's a little sliver of the team culture that's baked into that they're accountable for as well. What do you guys look for athletes, both on the culture front, on the intangible side, and then maybe you can build that into like, hey, like, we want to know that you're fit and can contribute to this standard down the line, yeah. Right? You can't just be a great person but not have the attributes that can kind of lead to success later on. Just take that wherever you want, but like, what, and it's basically just centered around recruiting, but take that wherever you want, and let's let me hear about that.
In thinking about how to answer, I'm like, one of the most, well, not one of, in my mind, the most important piece of data in the recruit evaluation is when a recruit spends time with our team. I don't know everything about our current team, but I know a lot, and I know the people in our boathouse, and I really value them. I really respect them. I think very highly of them. I love the quality of their work, of our current team. So when we go through the filtering process and the vetting process of recruits, like, talent matters and character matters and leadership, all those things matter. Academics matter. We do not bring anybody on without them spending some significant time with our team, and then asking our team, is this someone you want on our team? Like, honestly, I haven't spoken it out loud before, but I think that's the most important filter. The people on our team, what do you think of this person from your experience with them in the dorm, at the dining hall, at the library, hanging out? Like, what do you think of them? Do they match your character? Do you think they reflect your values in some way? Or do we want to steer clear? of this individual. I speak to, once we get farther down the line, when kids come onto campus, I usually spend an hour at least. It's usually me and Nate, but like me just talking to that kid one-on-one for an hour. And I don't really want to talk about rowing. So we do, of course we talk about rowing, but like, I want to ask about their family, about their other extracurriculars, about their life, and like, okay, I want to understand you, and will you be successful here? So I think the guys, and then that time, really trying to understand, will that person have an opportunity to be successful here? And I think that has been working well for us the last few years, of finding people who want to be here, like that are choosing Trinity, are choosing this place and this program. And that has been a really fun process to refine. Nate is an extraordinary recruiter. He is a very shrewd and keen judge of character. So he does a really great job of finding people who can be successful and who want to be here. But we rely on the guys a lot. So like, you're just sitting around chopping it up on the couch watching, I don't know, Monday Night Football. I think the guys learn a lot about that recruit, and we grill our guys. I'm like, what were they like? What do you think? Do you want them on the team? Like, should we pursue? And they've helped us both like attract, like, and recruit really great people, but also be able to turn from people who might not be a great fit for our college. So.
What just building off that here real quick, but like when you're sitting in the room with the recruit, and I find that very cool, whether it's like on the launch or in an office, kind of having a conversation about things other than rowing. But obviously, rowing, we're all coaches, so we can talk about rowing is kind of like our default, programming to talk about, 24/7 probably. So we all can talk rowing, but like when you're chatting with a coach, or sorry, with a recruit, like what are things that you're trying to kind of like, like what are some of your maybe like favorite questions that you like to ask someone? Because again, you talked about the balance aspect, and I love that you said academics has to come first, but rowing has to come second. I love that. I think that's very kind of like, I just think that's a great way to say it. It's like, hey, like if rowing isn't second, it's, your ability to do the work that we require for, again, coming back to that word standard, like your ability to kind of meet that standard, push the standard, becomes very challenging if, but in that same vein, we also want you to have interests other than rowing. It's kind of like, hey, academics, rowing, other things, beyond that, right? That kind of, spark your interest or whatever. Like, what are some of your favorite questions or things that you talk about with athletes in the room, that, you think say a lot about who they are, or whatever it may be?
I will answer that question, Kevin, I promise, but I am smiling because you made me think of a expression of Larry's that he used to say, a balanced life is a fine ideal so long as rowing comes first. That was one of Larry's favorites. So
I love that.
Anyway, but I stick with academics first. So in the launch, I don't know, I'm going to use this venue for any recruits past or future. I do not want to talk to you in the launch. I'm there to coach practice. I'm there to coach my crew. I'm there to run practice. You're there to observe. And so I don't know. I don't think I've been rude to recruits, or like, I certainly have not been overtly rude deliberately, but like, I'm not there to talk to you. I'm there to run practice. We have practice, man. Like, practice is sacred. And I don't want to jab away for a half hour in the launch with a recruit. I'm there to coach practice, and they're there to observe, and we like want them there to like look everywhere, walk around the boathouse, look at the guys, but like we're there to work. Like you're there observing our period of work, and like we don't get to practice that much. And man, I drive hard during practice. Like those 114 days, like they're sacred. They are so important. So anyway, I want to just as a disclaimer to any recruits who may have been offended by me ignoring them in the launch or in the future, like observe and like just see what we're doing. Then Nate puts together the itinerary for the day. We meet on campus and we talk for an hour. That's our time to talk. That's when I want to get to know you and allow you to ask me any questions you have. And I certainly have a lot. Much like this, podcast, our conversation, like I like to see where the conversation goes. But man, working in higher ed for almost 30 years now, like undergraduate energy is a intoxicating elixir, man. It is like amazing. And I love talking to our current team about their academic interests, about pop culture. And I am not young anymore. I'm not hip anymore, but like, I don't know. I want to hear what's happening, what they're doing, what music they're listening to. I sincerely like love being in the erg room and like, oh, now we're on EDM. Like, oh, we used to be listening to this music and it was all 80s remixes like 5 years ago. So I want to get to know the dudes on our team. And this relates to recruits in the same way of like, what do you read? What do you watch? Sometimes, we'll ask them questions about like, who's the best teammate you've ever had? What is your relationship with your current coach? Because Nate and I have a very distinct approach to like how we relate and how we speak and how we develop our relationships with athletes. Like, what's your current relationship with a coach? One of my favorites is like, if you had a day off, no required activity, like what workout would you choose? And one of the most memorable ones was this kid years and years and years ago. He goes, "Oh, coach, I've been super into kettlebells lately. I like watch these videos on YouTube. And do you know Pavel Tsatsouline?" And I love Pavel Tsatsouline. I'm like obsessed with him. And so this kid's like, "I love kettlebells. They're the best." Like, and if I had a day off, I would just practice these moves. And I was like, "Oh, this kid, like, I love him." Like, so I don't know. You learn a lot by those kind of questions. And also I mentioned earlier, my appointment at Wesleyan, I worked in athletics, but also did work in admissions. And for 4 years, did applicant work, did application work, and yeah, really value that time and that training of like, all right, how do you get the answer that you're looking for? Like, how do you ask questions that you'll get sincere and genuine responses? And then look, I'm the most long-winded dude. Like I love talking. Like I sincerely really like getting to know them, and trying to figure out like, is this going to be a good match or is it not? And I do want to add, that's also like, that goes both ways. My vibe is not for everybody. I get that. Like there are recruits who probably meet me and are like, "Nah, no, I want a different coach." And then there are others who are like, "Yeah, this is great. I'm into what these guys are doing." So it is. I hope that conversation is good for them, as much as it is for us. And it's I don't know. I always like the moment. Some kids get it right away because we usually meet with them. There's an awesome little coffee house on campus. And so we usually meet with them there. And it's like a very informal, casual, like busy coffee house atmosphere. And it's not an interview. Like we want to have, and I think Nate puts it into the itinerary as like conversation with the coaches, but some kids will start it as an interview and they'll just be like super formal. And I'm like, "Oh no, man, that's not what this is. Like we are not doing that. I'm not interested in the canned answers you have already prepared. Because I'm not going to ask those questions. Like, I don't care what you've rehearsed, and respectfully, like you want to be formal and professional and like, treat this as an interview. That's not what I'm interested in. Like, we're going to talk. And it's always fun when you see that like almost melt away. And the kid's like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm really into this kind of music. And yeah, I actually write my own music and like perform it. And you're like, oh, sweet. Let's follow that. Like, cool. We get to actually know each other. So.
I couple of things there, and then I know I want to wrap up because I know you're busy as you guys prep for Henley, but I got one more question after that. But just I love your disclaimer with the launch, and meaning like when you're in the launch with me, like I'm here to coach my team. You know, like we have 114 days, and I'm here to make the most of every minute of that. And you know, this is not the opportunity or the time where we're going to have, you know, dialogue back and forth, and we're going to take this time away from what I'm trying to drive with the team in this particular session. That's going to come later in this hour, you know, after, where, you know, like it's a very informal conversation where they get to know you, you get to know them. But I really think that's cool. You know, like when I was an assistant coach, when I was in the launch as the assistant coach, I felt like obligated to be the guy who was, you know, turning back and making sure like they're all good. You know, how you guys doing over there? Like, you know, this is what we're doing in practice today. I love your approach 10 times better because they actually get to see the real you, not just me, you know, as the assistant coach, turning them around and making sure that they feel, you know, comfortable and they like every minute of practice. It's like, no, this is the practice that we're doing today. Like, and we'll talk later today. Right. But not right now. I'm focusing on the team. Anyway, I think that's so cool and so powerful and I love that you said it. And also the kettlebell thing is awesome. I'm a weight guy as well. And you know, the kettlebell, Pablo Tasulin, right. So I'm right there with you on that front. Yeah. Just so much value there. I think, again, like, I think, you know, that's really good transparency for athletes, because you want to know, like, is this person, are they all rowing? Are they not all rowing, but they're just trying to say they're all rowing? Or are they all rowing, but also they have this side of them that is, you know, the other human side, where like they have this other piece to them, like maybe they like a certain kind of music, or, you know, what they watch on, you know, a TV show, or, you know, they're in a band or whatever. Like, you wouldn't learn that if you didn't have that conversation with them, you know, in an informal setting where you're trying to peel beneath the layers of just, you know, I'm just a rower and this is what I do, you know, kind of thing. So,
on the rowing front, the most important thing to me, I want to try and ascertain why they row. Like both literally, but also more metaphorically, I guess. Like, what is your motivation as an individual for continuing to pursue rowing? And why do you want to do it in college? Because I have my reasons of like what, you know, why I coach, why I'm passionate about rowing, why I believe so deeply in it as a vehicle for development. And, you know, I want to know why they row. They row because they have to? Do they row because their best friend does? Do they row because they have a anger problem and it helps them like process it? Do they, you know, row because they love being on the water? Like, what is it? And I feel like when you can get kids talking about like, I row because my mom signed me up for it. But now I really love it because I've never been on a team before and I love being a part of a crew. Great. Okay, let's explore that. On the rowing side, that's what I'm interested in ascertaining. So just as, you know, I don't know, feedback or advice to any recruits, like, have an answer. Like, why do you row? Why are you doing this? And what do you hope that it provides you in your life at the next stage? Because at the college level, for us, like, I just used this phrase of like, it is the vehicle for maturation. You know, some people choose other ways that they become adults. Like, for us, like, rowing is the primary vehicle for developing. And that growth is what's, you know, really keeps me getting out of bed every morning. Like, seeing young people choose rowing to help change their lives.
That's, yeah, I actually really like, again, the this kind of, is, but like, why do you row, unpacking the layers beneath that. And I think, that's just incredibly valuable. And I think it kind of, is like, for my last question for you, and you kind of already gave one, but I'm curious to hear, if, any advice you have, or if you want to just expand on that. But like, last question for you before we wrap up, because I know you got stuff to do today, but like, as you guys get ready for Henley, but what advice would you have? Let's close out with this. Like, what advice would you have for any athlete out there who is interested in rowing in college, whether it's D3, D1 club, you name it? They're looking at schools. They're trying to find the right program, the right school for them, the right programs for them later, right? Whatever it may be. Like, what advice would you have? You're someone who's obviously been, at Trinity for so long, your time at Wesleyan, your time just working with athletes in general, working in the back, behind the scenes of, of higher ed. Like, what would be your advice to an athlete who's a freshman, sophomore, even junior, heading into, senior year and trying to make a big decision about where they want to go? And rowing is going to be something that's part of their life, that they hope to be part of their life. Take that wherever you want, but let's finish with that. What advice would you have?
Look, nothing groundbreaking, but do a lot of research, ask a lot of questions, and through self-reflection, figure out what the best place for you is. The first two seem self-evident, but I don't think you can do too much research. I don't think you can. I haven't met students, or many of them recruiting wise, who have done too much research. Like, learn everything you can about the academic offerings, about the athletic offerings, about the history of the place, about the location. Do research, because it's really easy. It's not hard to do research anymore. Ask a lot of questions. One of the most like deflating moments of speaking to a recruit, we ask, like, what questions can I answer for you? And when they say I don't have any questions, I'm just like, oh, that's too bad. Like, I want you to ask questions. Like, you're making a monster decision. You're making a huge and momentous decision. Like, do you want to know about me? Do you want to know about my family, my background, my philosophy? Like, maybe you don't, and that's fine. But like, curiosity is good, and like, cultivate curiosity, because people respond to it like very positively. Of like, if you're curious and you're showing interest, like, you don't ask any questions, I kind of assume you're not interested. And maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's an unfair, but like, it shows me that you're not engaged. So, tons of research, ask a lot of questions that belie that you've done some research, and then look, as best you can, find the right fit for you, because there's so many options. There's so many great options. You mentioned the Connect Cup earlier, and just a quick but a passionate plug for Laura, she's Bill. The Connect Cup is named after Bill Connect, legendary Philly, New Jersey based sculler and rower. His daughter, Laura, now runs the regatta, does a phenomenal job with that race. And at that race, so Trinity, we're very honored to, we came out on first. So Division 3 program finishes first. The MIT lightweights, who were, I think, ranked third, one of the top lightweight programs in the nation, was second. Purdue, top ACRA club program in the nation, was third. And LaSalle, who I think they were second, so they would have been 19th in the nation, Division 1 program, finished fourth. It was like an amazing collection of schools, and kind of like a misfit like grouping, but all outstanding, all excellent. D3, D1, MIT, like the most prestigious technical university in the world, Purdue, and LaSalle. And I offer that, to plug Laura and the work that she and the Connect Cup do, which is incredible. But also, like, there's so many options for great and high level rowing. So again, do your research, ask questions, find the right spot for you.
That's awesome, and I mean, again, like that's one of the key parts. Like again, bringing up the Connect Cup and all that. Again, was something that stands out with just the power to Trinity, but also just lightweight rowing, club rowing, D1 rowing. Like you kind of have it all mixed right there. And for athletes to understand, like there isn't just seek more than just the label or the brand. Like think like okay, like there's actually some power out there. You just have to do some research and actually understand it, both on the rowing front and on the academic front. I think that's a great way to, that's a great piece of advice. Kevin, this was like one of the fastest hours, on the Active 1000 podcast. This flew by, and that's a good thing because again, you're very passionate about what you do, not only with the team but just rowing as a whole. And again, this flew by. There's so much more that I could talk about, and we could totally do a round 2 at a later date. But I think again, like I really had a ton of fun just in this conversation. And just with that, just good luck with all the things that you guys have coming up. Obviously Henley on the immediate horizon. This will come out probably when you're literally, across the pond, kind of, just getting there and getting your roots in, as you prep for Henley. But again, it's been a blast to watch Trinity and the development, and there's even so much more that we could go in just on the team itself. But again, we had a pretty holistic, fun conversation today, and it was a lot of fun. But again, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome, and good luck as you guys head overseas and race at the highest level.
I appreciate that very much. I appreciate this opportunity and really appreciate the work you're doing, man. The interviews are awesome, and the work you're doing with athletes is great. So I'm, very happy to have had this opportunity. So thank you very much, Kevin.
I will be coming up there at some point, hopefully this fall. I'll be coming up there, maybe riding the launch. You don't have to talk to me. I'll just sit in the back. I'll be like one of the recruits. I'll just sit in the back. I'll hang out. I'll observe. And then maybe we'll go to that coffee spot on campus after to connect. But again, Kevin, so much fun. Thank you so much. And I'll be following as you guys compete at Henley and talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.